Hello and welcome to In a Spiritual Sense Kids, a podcast for parents, teachers, and caregivers seeking to support their children's emotional and energetic development. On the show, we'll blend insights from neuroscience, child psychology, and emotional awareness as we explore natural ways to help kids understand their own energy, stay grounded, and enhance creativity and imagination. Don't forget to check out our sister channel, In a Spiritual Sense, where we dive a little deeper into the metaphysical, working to build your intuition, connect with spirit guides, the paranormal, energetic healing, and more. Join me, Stacey Piagno, where we work to bridge the gap between science and spirit. Hello and welcome to In a Spiritual Sense Kids. I'm your host, Stacey Piagno. Today, we have a treat for you all. We have our first interview of the season. Today, we have with us Andrew Newman, who is the award-winning author and founder of Conscious Stories, which is a line of children's stories that build emotional intelligence. You talk a lot about the relationship between mind and heart. So many beautiful things. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Stacey, so good to be here with you.
So Andrew, I'm so excited to have you on today. First, I wanted to say your books are amazing. My
Mm.
listeners know I'm a first grade teacher, and I know we're going to get into the stories today, but your books are really unique because not only do they have wonderful stories, but they have breathing exercises. There are meditations that are kid-friendly, mind you.
hmm
There's stickers in the back. Correct me if I'm wrong. Do they have affirmations that match the story? Did I notice that?
Absolutely.
That's
Yep.
so cool.
It's like a little badge of
Yes.
yeah.
I think that's amazing. And then there's quotes, there's facts, and the illustrations are absolutely beautiful.
Mm.
So I'm very excited to have you on today. We're actually going to start with one of your stories, Andrew. I've got it here behind me. It is The Hug Who Stuck. Would you like to
Mm.
start by sharing this and then we can kind of get into all the details?
Yeah, I'd love that. I mean, The Hug Who Got Stuck, out of 24 books, it's the ones that the kids ask me for the most. There it is there.
Hmm.
I will set it up on a screen share so that we can see. And I kind of my question to our listeners, if you haven't seen this story, is where are hugs made?
Ooh.
And do you know? And the kids have all sorts of answers to this. Um, let's jump in and see if we can find out
Yeah.
what's happening there.
And
That's
if you guys are watching on YouTube, Andrew is going to share our screen and he's actually going to read us the story so you guys can see the visuals there if you're interested in that.
okay. So you've got the book up. There we go.
Yeah.
So story time always starts in my version of story time with a snuggle breathing meditation. And love to invite you to do that with me now. So it's
Mhm.
four simple breaths, and the first breath is I breathe for me. So breathing in, I breathe for me. I breathe for you. I breathe for us. And I breathe for all that surrounds us. Hmm. Gosh, I
Mhm.
feel like I'm ready for a little stretch.
I'm ready.
Yes. And story time. This is for children of all ages. Gather round, story time. Once upon a time, on a very ordinary day, deep in the center of a very ordinary heart, an extraordinary thing happened. Deep in the center of this heart was a hug factory. The hug factory made the most warm, cozy, cuddly hugs. I'll give you a quick tour of the hug factory. So, over on the right is the door of the heart. Hugs come zooming in. They are so full of love. The love glows brightly. It gets caught on the solar panels. Solar panels fill up the big green battery with love energy, and that love energy powers the light because deep in the center of your heart, there are baby hugs growing in a forest of trees that is hydroponically drip fed by stardust, rainbow light, and that is a basket of warm, fuzzy feelings. Um, and then when the The little hugs are ready. They get picked and they get taken through into the encoding room. And we'll see that in a second. They come zooming out over the barcode scanner, past the big sign, and out into the world. Ta-da! It's like a lot of good things happening there. Each hug was freshly made and specially encoded with just the right amount of love and care to delight the heart it was made for. Being a hug wasn't always easy. Sometimes a lonely thought or bad feeling would trap a hug in a sticky web. Uh-oh. Nobody loves me. I'm not good enough. Who cares? So, to help hugs deliver their love and care, there was a big sign on the factory wall. Reminders to being a great hug. Number one, breathe in love to glow brightly. Number two, focus entirely on the heart the love is for. And three, don't pay too much attention to the web of sticky thoughts. On most days, you could see streams of hugs entering and leaving the door of the heart, zooming away like bees from a hive. But not on this day. On this day, there was a problem. One special hug on its way out of the heart got stuck. Very, very stuck. This hug had forgotten the third rule. It fought against the web of sticky thoughts to get free, but every wriggle and squirm trapped the hug even more. Soon the hug ran out of breath and lost its glow. Inside, the heart became horribly congested, with crowds of hugs waiting to get out. Unused hugs were put into boxes until every inch of space was filled up. Outside the heart, there was also a problem. A traffic jam of visiting hugs couldn't get in to deliver their special love and care. Uh-oh. Soon the factory stopped making new hugs. Hmm. There was only one stuck hug in the center of one ordinary heart. But all around the world, hugs lost a little of their glow. It's kind of sad, isn't it?
Hmm.
I have been known in the middle of the story to close the book at this point and say, the end.
Ooh. Let everyone down. The world
And
is
there's this
shut
little
down.
moment, yes, where I was like, wait, wait, what? No!
Allow everyone to feel the wrath.
Let's see what happens. The hug sighed helplessly. Let's all sigh together. Ah. It stopped wriggling, stopped squirming, and stopped fighting. In that moment, something magical happened. As it stopped wriggling, it breathed in love and glowed brighter. As it stopped squirming, it remembered the heart it was made for. As it stopped fighting, it slipped right past the web of sticky thoughts. Free! Yay! The hug glowed brighter and brighter, zooming away toward the one special heart it was made for. The hug factory clinked and whirled back to life. A flood of hugs passed in and out of the heart, each delivering their special love and care. It was just one hug who got unstuck in the center of one ordinary heart, and all around the world, an extraordinary softening happened. The end. And
Yay.
the crowd goes wild.
Woohoo.
We do have, of course, a little daily hug meter at the back, which is our activity page for this story, and you get to count. There's a family therapist called Virginia Satir who said we need 4 hugs a day to survive, 8 to maintain, and 12 to thrive. And it's quite a thing to actually walk around counting your hugs and seeing how you're doing.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And if you need more, then you can offer them, and then you get more, and it's like all happens at the same time. And
Mhm.
we did a lot of Zoom hugs during COVID,
Oh, I bet.
when we all rubbing our hearts, warming up the hug factory, and sending our love around the world.
Yes, thank you for sharing. I love this story. It's so important, I think, to teach kids these concepts and having them in books, I think, is so, so special. And these activity pages at the back, that's really something that I think is unique. I would love to hear, are they all meditations or are they, you mentioned activities? Is every book a little bit different at the end? What is your goal with that?
Yeah, so it's evolved a little bit over the time. So more recently, we've had a lot of meters, like you saw the daily hug meter. It's such a simple doorway for the adult-child connection to go, hey, how many hugs have you had? So
Mhm.
in the hairdresser for unicorns, we have a sparkle meter at the back of the book,
Oh, okay.
and because the key character is Sparkle, and so you can see, are you feeling dull and dreary, tired but twinkly, sort of sparkly, great and glittery, or super duper sparkly? Now, we have coloring sheets. You put that on the fridge, and
Uh-huh.
and you get an instant checkpoint, not only for yourself when you walk past this thing on the fridge, but your kids are like there, and you can go, "Hey, how are you feeling?" And they can just point to something on the wall, right?
Hmm.
And obviously, it's hard to see on the screen right now, but
Yeah.
um, we've had a gratitude spiral. We've had um, things on how to make choices. I'm just looking at my pile of books next to me.
Yeah.
Um, the Little Brain People, which is another favorite because it exploring these characters of serotonin and dopamine and how they cruise around in the brain.
Yep.
What they're doing there is is learning about fight, flight, and freeze. And so at the back of the back of the book we have a
Oh,
brain
cool.
balance barometer, right? Which has the three different brain states that I'm interested in, first graders learning is,
Hmm.
am I feeling safe and love? Am I having a yucky brain moment? And then can I restore calm? And so there's this little like spiral that we go through. That's what the brain's doing all the time. It's either in one of those states. It's like, this is great, or like, this really isn't great.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that you're bringing attention to the meters. I mean, that's something that we use in the teaching world to get kids to help them gauge themselves. And, sometimes we do it with learning, but doing it with our emotions and our feelings, I think is so special. And I think it's something that a lot of teachers and parents are really trying to start building and incorporating because I think it's something that unfortunately, we haven't been as mindful of until more recently.
Mm,
So I love that you have these great visuals and gauges. I love that you can also print out the coloring sheets and put them on the fridge. I think
mm.
that's something really special when you can continue passing by something. And so I think that that's really great. I would love to know real quick, you've got different, I noticed when you go on your website, you have so much wonderful information there. Your books seem to be broken into different categories. How do you attack that? On the show we talk a lot about you've got your mental body, your emotional body, spiritual body, physical. How are your books broken apart? And do you try to hit all of those different areas?
It's really interesting because the categorization has come after the writing. So in many ways, my writing process is to write what I'm given to write. For example, the boy who searched for silence. I do a 4-day silent meditation retreat. The story writes itself in 5 minutes afterwards,
Mhm.
and and that's really how we ended up with 24 books. Is there've been very few moments where I've thought intentionally, this is the subject I need to deliver on. It doesn't mean I'm not listening to the human situation, right? That's all of these books touch on something that we're all going to face, right? That boy is looking for silence because he struggles with the noises of everyday life. Every single one of us at some stage in our life is going to have that dance to work out. And when we learn that our deep interior is the place where there is this state of being called silence, rather than an outer world experience, then we can return there time and time again. And so, I'm trusting the guidance and the unfolding of it. And then we've kind of had a look and we've said, well, how are these stories meeting families? And what are the family needs in different ways and spaces? And at that stage, that's where we've come back and we've looked at the emotions. There's a lot around fear and anxiety that we're actually not very good at making friends with fear and anxiety.
Yeah.
Problem is if we make them enemies, then we're at war with ourselves.
Yeah,
So
you're right.
we want to be able to befriend them, but not give them control.
Mm,
And then anger's a big subject for parents working out how do we support our kids with that. Um, and we're about building love and relationships. So when we look at the collection through the lens of emotions, we can categorize it in a certain way, and we do that in the website for people who like to shop that way. But then again, when we look at it through executive function and core skills and learning things like task initiation and I haven't got the list in front of me right now, but it's like there's a huge long list that we could grade our kids against.
right.
But we know the things that they're not so good at.
Yeah.
Those things, those are the ones that they're missing some skills and they still need to learn those skills. And that may be true for their entire life because here I am and
Yeah.
as an adult still missing some skills. That's
I
that's
was
how it
just
goes.
gonna say, listen, these are not just for kids. These are
Yeah.
for us as well. These concepts are so wonderful, and I think we can all learn from them, even just by reading. I've got three books here, and I've read through them, and I was like, wow, these are great reminders for me. We talk a lot. We had an episode early on where we can't help our children until we help ourselves as well. So I think as we're working with our children, as we're breathing and as we're becoming more mindful with how we're feeling and what we're thinking, I think those are great reminders for us to practice. And
Mm,
I love that we can practice them with our kids.
mm,
Something I've noticed at the end of some of your books is they're activities that you do together.
right.
And so I would love to kind of get into, you talk a lot about creating mindful moments
Hmm.
between parent and child or teacher and child. And I would love to hear a little bit about that. How can we create more mindful moments with our children? What's the impact of that?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been learning about this. I've known about it, but I haven't learned it. Dr. Becky Bailey's work of conscious discipline
Mm,
really has distilled some of these things for me that on a brain level, um, for us, we need eye contact, touch, presence in a playful situation if we want to activate the joy juice, right, which is the serotonin, dopamine imbalance, feeling good about ourselves
hmm.
space. Um, and Storytime presents a moment for this. The other thing that Storytime does, which is unique, is often in the parenting or teaching space, we as adults have rank over the kids, right? We're taller than them, and we're in a front to front environment. We're giving instructions, and we're kind of like saying what to do. Um, in story, we come side by side, and it shifts that for us. It's like the best conversations happen on a long car drive somehow, because
Yes.
you're side by side and you're going in the same direction, and you don't have the antagonism that can come with a front to front confrontational energy that can come into things.
Hmm.
Um, and so story has us enter in. We go zooming in, and we go on the same adventure together, and we have the same victory that the character has. Uh, that that particularly when we're younger, we just run that right through our system, right? It's not like the character's over there and I'm over here. There's this like merging that kind of
Yeah.
happens. It's like I am the character and I can't do this in the same way that he can't do. Oh, I can now, and I got my victory.
Yes.
Ta-da. And so all of these moments are actually in the process of building confidence and self-worth for the child,
Mm.
right? Because we all want to be safe, seen, loved, welcome, and wanted. And so many times in our life, then we feel unsafe, unseen, unwelcome, unwanted,
Yeah.
unloved. And
Yeah.
it's like, and there's actually a part of the brain that does that the emotional brain was just goes into when you've got a little one in front of you who's gone into that whiny state, because you said, no, you can't have a chocolate right now. Um, that the brain has essentially started to question whether or not you're still loved.
Mm,
It's like,
wow.
and it's just going, am I loved? 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 And it comes out, "Ah."
Yeah. Yeah.
and and so we can't reason with that
Hmm.
because the executive brain's, offline at that point. What we can do is we can affirm that you're loved.
Ooh. Yeah.
Right. So we got to get skillful in our language and our relating and our using touch and using presence, using kind of like including, not leaving them alone in that moment. All of those sort of things. We're speaking not to the behavior that's in front of us, but we're speaking to the brain. Because
Ooh.
if we can get the brain to come back online into its executive state, and you've seen your kids pop out of it, they pop out of it as fast as they pop into it, and the next thing they're drawing again, and they're
Yeah.
curious, and they're off to do something else, and it's all over, right? It's
Right.
like, and you're sitting there going, "Oh my God, what just happened?"
What a whirlwind.
Yes, exactly. Uh, yeah, I mean, I know we spiraled around your question. Is there more there for you?
Yeah, yeah, no, I think that's really important too. And when you mentioned, sometimes our kids are acting out, but to talk to the brain, not the behavior, I think that's really important. And I think that's something that stories allow us to do. It's funny, we recently just had an episode where we talk about the impact of story and how that helps us learn because we're actually feeling and we're creating an experience to go through. And the brain doesn't always know a difference, right? When we're experiencing something in our mind, visualizing, or when we're experiencing it in real life, the body feels the same. So I love that we can use stories purposefully to help
Mhm.
create these experiences for kids, as you're mentioning, to feel loved and to be more self-aware and to have that body regulation. So I think that's really beautiful. Um, Now, something that you're really big on, and this kind of goes hand in hand with mindfulness, is you talk about the last 20 minutes of the day and the importance of that and creating that relationship. Can you speak a little bit about this?
Yeah, this is becoming for me. I mean, I'm still learning in the space. Been learning in it for since I did before I did my TED talk on it years ago. But coming back to confidence and self-worth, so that assuming we woke up in the day fully resourced with all of ourselves, going through the day we would take a couple of hits, right? You don't get the chocolate. The teacher says no, a kid doesn't want to play with you. All of these little micro bruises that are happening during the day. Now you get to night and you're about to go to sleep. If you go to sleep carrying those bruising experiences, the brain has to metabolize them, has to work with them. And from a psychological perspective, we start to build our defenses that prepare us and create strategies for the next day. Right. Tomorrow I'm going to come. I'm not going to show up the way that I showed up today because when I showed up and I was joyful and I was playful, I got told to sit in my seat and be quiet. So particularly these are young brains we're talking about, right? 3 year
Yeah.
old is 1,000 days old, and the opportunity in those last 20 minutes is to address those bruises
Mm.
before we're going to sleep, so that while sleeping, the brain doesn't have to do the strategizing work. It can do the resting work, and it can do the replenishing, and if you can imagine that all of your tough moments from today got kind of parked and completed, then when you wake up tomorrow, you get to wake up with that 100% full tank again and be like, "Oh, I'm still here. Let's go."
Yeah.
And because you feel like you've navigated, you've actually been on a hero's journey yourself in
Hmm.
that cycle of a day, and you wake up going, I successfully completed that. So now we've learned the sort of baseline lessons like I can do hard things. Um, we've learned that the day can get hard and repair can happen, and I'm going to be okay. And if you think about those of us with self-worth challenges, the key thing is a voice that's telling us, I'm not going to be okay. I don't think I can do this. and it's too hard, and those sort of, even just saying them out loud, my whole energy is just gone. Ooh,
Yeah.
like I feel the slump of it. But that, it's important for us to just to keep an eye on this, because this is what the undercurrents are that so many of us are facing, and it starts young in our kids. In our adulthood, we've got more capacity to recognize it. Um, but even that needs to be sort of practiced and
Yeah.
learned.
Yeah, and it's our job as parents to guide our children, and I think that's so special. And also too, not just for the kids. I always say this, it's for us too. As a teacher, my days are crazy. I get home,
Mm.
there's been so much energy, and I have to make sure that I'm checking in with myself and I'm making sure that I'm clearing my energy and I'm refreshing myself and starting over. And I think being able to do that with our children, and as you said, find those bruises, I love that.
Mm.
It's important for us to be able to teach them what they feel like. Can we find that ickiness inside of us, pull it up, address it, and then work with it and move on? I think that's really special. And your stories give such an opportunity to do that and to talk. I've got one of your stories here. It's the unicorn who found her magic. This is
Uh-huh.
such a cute one. Something that I love at the end. So you've got a little meditation for children after the story to meet their unicorn. I think that
Yes.
is so cool. Guys, there's like a little visualization. You open your heart, invite in the unicorn,
Mm-hmm.
and you practice seeing and visualizing it. First,
Mm-hmm.
this reminds me of inviting in like our spirit guide, our higher self, whatever's going to pop up for the children. I
Yep.
think that's beautiful. And one thing that I think is really important, as from a teacher perspective, is you have a little space here that says share what you discovered. And it
Right.
says, tell mom, dad, or a friend, what you saw, what you experienced. And I think that's really important. A lot of time on my other show, In a Spiritual Sense, we talk a lot about bridging these sides of our brains. And sometimes when we have a spiritual experience or we have a dream, being able to write that down, what happens is we're bringing something of the energetic and we're bringing it into the physical. And it really creates a deep impact to our system. And it really
Mm.
helps solidify that experience we went through. And so I think it's really important that in this specific activity, we're having the kids connect with something really special to them, and then they're able to share it with their parents or a friend or
Mm.
something. And on top of that, it also helps kids find their voice. It helps them explain their thoughts. And so I think that's really special.
Yeah, that exercise, and also in the a book called How Diablo Became Spirit, which is a true animal whisperer story. In many ways, what we're developing is intuition. Uh,
Yes.
and and this idea that, I mean, I know that kids have in many cases phenomenal imagination, but I also see when I travel through schools in the US that the elementary school environment is not a place that fosters that.
Yeah.
Um, that it's focused on thinking rather than imagining. And so the assignments are quite literal in many ways. Now you can tell from my collection of stories that was never me, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know, so the poetic nature of life is something that I think has there's a lot of health in it,
Yeah.
actually, and for us to nurture this connection to our inner experience, and then, as you say, tell someone about it.
Mhm.
Um, it brings it a little bit more into reality. I wanted to catch one area, which is this subject of shared story language.
Yeah.
Because when you've read a story together, like we just did with the hug who got stuck, now we can say, "Hey, do you have a stuck hug?"
Hmm.
We can say, "What are your sticky thoughts?" And we've made it light. It's not. I mean, it's deep psychological work through the
Hmm.
doorway of a 5-year-old. I mean,
Yeah. But it's
it's
exciting. It's
it's
exciting. It's fun.
exciting.
It's fun.
Exactly. So we got the little brain people. Oh, are you having a yucky brain moment? And then we do. I hear this from parents. It's like, oh, my daughter jumped in the car after school and she said, I'm having a yucky brain moment. It's like the power that gives to that moment. Firstly, it gives the power to the kid to know what's happening for their own inner experience, but it also lets the parent choose the response. Let's get out and do jumping jacks, or can I just sit with you and do you need a cuddle?
Yeah.
We can choose a response, but this is similar to those having the meters on the fridge, and now you've got shared story language. You're just building these different bridges that we can come into their world and understand what their experience is, and that's what helps them feel seen and included, um, and loved.
Yeah, I think that's really important, that shared story language, because also it in the same breath, it gives kids words to use. It allows them, like you were mentioning, to understand their system and to verbalize that to us. And
Mm,
because it was an experience we shared together, we're both on the same page. And of course, as we said, it's fun. That's a big thing that I support is sometimes, we want to teach kids, XYZ, but we have to find ways to make it fun for them. We want them to use their imagination to be able to visualize these things. And your books are so bright and vibrant, and they really invite children to use their imagination.
mm,
I have a random question for you. What do you think is the importance of imagination? You can get as
mm,
deep as you want with this. It's a
mm,
big question, but I love talking about imagination.
mm. Well, you touched on it. You touched on it a little bit ago because in some of my adult work, which has become about creativity and self-expression, um, the creative impulse that I have around a book is this little nudge that happens inside me. It's this idea that kind of bubbles in my interior, and the things that are in the interior are in like a dream state, and you can redecorate the room with a click of the fingers, right? Everything is very, very fast and very immediate in that space. I want the elephant to be wearing pink shoes. Done. Right?
Yeah.
No, give them a hat. Okay, put them in the jungle. No, put them in the desert. It's just done. And I actually, when I'm in a classroom and we're doing story creation, I'll get the kids to close their eyes and to, visualize a polar bear, and then, hey, tell me what your polar bear looked like, and then everybody's got a different answer. So there's a tie here with imagination to the uniqueness of each individual. Um, and there's also this, to me, it happens in a world that is visionary, it's developmental, is as in I'm developing a story inside of myself.
Mhm.
And uh, for some more than others, we will run scenarios. Sometimes that's on nature, sometimes that's a result of safety and psychological injury. But we're like, let's just assume we're all well. We're still going to run the scenario, like what's going to happen to the elephant in the story as I make the story. Now I'm still exploring, still exploring, still exploring, and then there's this process creatively where we actually have to then pick up the pen.
Mhm.
And we've had all of these wonderful swirlings in our imagination, and they get funneled through a very small point on a page,
Mhm. Yes.
right? And you can't squeeze the entire landscape of that imagination into and through the pen. It changes its nature, and then one has to learn that process. And um, that's happening all the time. That's what creativity is doing. For those of us who have language around manifesting, that's what manifesting has to do. We have to have a gateway that we can go from this big, expansive, immediate, fast, super speed playground into a much slower, much denser world, which we call Earth,
Mhm.
um, where we endeavor to make what we imagined, what we saw, what we perceived, what we dreamed, come into the world. Isn't that
Yeah.
an extraordinary thing we're doing?
It so is. I love talking about manifestation, and something that I've noticed is it's very important in schools for us at a primary age to teach kids what visualizing is and how to do it. I mean, they do it naturally, but for them to understand that, because sometimes what I find is when children are not able to use that imagination, when they're not in spaces where, they're able to think creatively, then when we grow up, there's such a connection there between us using our imagination to actually produce our reality, right?
Mm,
There's such a strong connection there. And I find that the children who grow up using their imagination and having time and space to explore that, they it's so much easier as an adult to then understand that our
mm,
imagination, our thoughts, we're creating our reality. And so the play there is very interesting. And I think it's so important for us to allow our children to be creative and to use that imagination and spend time doing that. I
mm,
think with technology these days, that's a big topic of discussion. Um, I think kids aren't given the space and maybe you can speak on this, the silence, right? To be
mm,
able
mm,
to sit with themselves and develop their imagination. And when we're not allowing that in children, there's such a range. We've talked about it on the show before the age of 6, when children really need to be growing those neurons, those wires in their brain.
mm,
And it's such an age where their brain is growing so rapidly. And if they're not able to have space of silence or to have the boredom, we've talked about this recently, and use their imagination and develop that, it's harder to do as an adult. What are your
mm,
thoughts on that?
mm. The first story that I do on a school visit is a book called The Boy Who Searched for Silence.
Mm.
And the reason I lead with that is coming back to a brain function thing, that if we're typically all full all the time. It's the nature of life that we get full, and then we have to carve space, and then we have a bit of space, and then we get full, and we carve space. So this is constantly happening, and the story, The Boy Who Searched for Silence, has this. Firstly, when I ask kids who like silence and what they like about it, I mean, really, it's 99% of the kids in the room. They really do like silence. I just want to speak to any mythology that my kid doesn't like silence. Sure, getting off a device that's had your dopamine tied into a reward and transitioning into boredom and transitioning into doing nothing is hard. But it doesn't mean they don't like silence. It means that they don't know how to handle the transition, um,
Ooh.
and they need the support to to do that transition, like most of us, and particularly those of us who are a little bit neurospicy. Um, and yeah, so we have to cultivate that inner space.
I'm curious, what's the activity and or meditation at the end of that book that you're talking about? The boy who, the what was it
The
called? The
boy who
boy
searched for silence.
or Search for Silence. Does that
Yeah.
have a good activity to help children with that?
Well, actually, the story does it in this one.
Okay. Mhm.
So as you go through the story, the boy he's struggling with the noises of everyday life. So he goes walking, he walks, he looks here, he looks there, but every people are noisy, and goes to the top of the hill, and he thinks he's found it. Then an airplane flies over, and he's like, ah, damn it, I can't find this thing. And in the story, he gets angry and he gets sad, and then he surrenders
Mm.
and he falls right into silence. And because it's a podcast, I'll keep talking. But
Yeah.
if I
I
was,
love this. Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
if I was in the room, um, and 250 elementary school kids sitting in silence together, and teachers looking at each other, going, "How does this guy do it?"
Yes.
But
Yes.
it's an entrainment because I've got the relationship inside of me, and actually we've all got it. So the more we've been talking a little bit about adult first, it's an important subject. You connect with your inner silence before reading this book. Then, when you get to these pages, you just sit in it. There are 3 pages with no words on them, and all you do is you just sit, and they will come into that silence with you. And and it's kind of contagious in a good way.
Yeah. I think that's beautiful. And I think surrender is beautiful. Actually, in the story that you just read about the hug,
Mm,
again, right? We get stuck in the entanglement of our mind. And then once we surrender, we realize, hold on, I'm the one holding myself back. It's the web, right? It's
mm,
me.
mm.
So I love that. I think that's so important and very special.
Yeah, it's always you just said that so well, and I'm like, I want to listen to your experience of my stories because there's a first grade teacher, and then
Yeah.
like, what are the kids doing? We've got it's interesting. There's the newest book in the collection is a book called The Missing Angels,
Mm.
and again, as I said, I write what I'm given to write, and it's
Mhm.
part of my imagination and my spiritual connection, and. I've had parents asking me for a long time, "Hey, have you got a story about death?"
Ooh.
Because it's a huge subject, obviously,
Yeah.
and at different whether it's the goldfish or you've lost a parent. I mean that the experience is hard, and I still thought I was going to at some stage. I thought I was going to. What I didn't realize is actually I'd already written it. And and this it was fascinating because the story the missing angels this boy who hangs out with his friends in the angel club he's a little bit older so he's turned 7 and he can't see the angels anymore and his
Mm.
friends who are younger are able to help him learn a new way to make the connection and at the end of it, he says, "It's going to be okay. I can't see them, but I can feel them. The angels are always here." And I mean, I just need a moment saying that out loud because it runs through my system so deeply
Mhm.
that it's such a tender aspect of development when the imaginary worlds dissolve and the spiritual connection piece that comes with that. And this is what happens developmentally 6 or 7 years old, um, that things change. And so this story is about loss and it's about continuity of spiritual connection, which is important for the health of our kids.
Mhm.
And we read the story for the first time. I develop it fully. I've done the art. I haven't proofread it with a
Okay.
bunch of 5-year olds. And we read it for the first time with a classroom of kids. And this kid puts his hand up and says, "This reminds me of my grandfather who died last year. I can't
Wow.
see him, but I can still feel him."
Ugh, I love that.
I was like,
I
"Oh my
love
God."
that.
I'm like, "Wow,
The
okay."
impact. I
Mm,
love, well, I love talking about the spirit world and the combination between that and the physical. And I think it's important that, we can still feel our families and these beautiful spirits around us. I think death is so misunderstood for everyone, not just children. I know children are probably closer to it than us.
mm,
But I don't think it's something negative. I think it's beautiful that you're creating this story. I'm so excited for it to come out because I think that there's a misunderstanding and we need to know that we're always supported. Just because we can't see something doesn't mean that that love isn't still there. That's
mm,
amazing that you had one of the children say that and really feel it because I feel like kids are so connected, it's
mm.
it's so we can learn a lot from them as well. That's what I always say.
Always. Yeah, that's why I like being in the class.
Yeah. So Andrew, how did this all start with for you? What brought you into this world of creating these books?
Look, the journey came out of the 30-second version of my life is I left the fourth generation family jewelry business in South
Ooh.
Africa,
Okay.
late 20s, and went, Who the hell am I now?" Um, right. And tripped over Reiki that I'd never heard of. And next thing I was in the deep end of the swimming pool doing energy healing training and learning about developmental traumas and adult injuries and how to support adults
Mm,
find their way back to themselves. And in the process of the learning, I got reconnected to my creativity that actually I didn't know I had.
mm.
Um, and so stories, the very first story, which is called A Little Light, and that's really me.
Oh,
You
I
know,
love this.
it was just a poem, and I was sitting on a hill, and I wrote a poem, and I was like, oh, it needs some pictures,
Mm,
and and by that stage, I had healed my what Brené Brown would call creativity scars.
mm,
I had healed my creativity scarring enough just to follow it and go, oh, I had the idea, it needs some pictures. Oh, I've got a friend who can do some pictures. Oh, let's make a book. And I mean, I really don't underestimate what that takes for the the child who didn't get seen, loved, and welcomed, right?
Hmm.
That really it's really extremely hard and extremely important that they do that. And yeah, the first four books kind of were experiences like that over about 4 years. That took a long time. So I still protected the first book. I didn't tell anyone I'd done it. And I needed to do that. Sometimes that's what's needed. If the world has not received you and your ideas very well, then why on earth would you share them? Right?
Yeah.
So I had to hold on to that a little bit, and then at a point, really when that boy who searched for silence came through, because that was the fifth book. We had had the bee who could not choose her flower, the fish who searched for water. When I first wrote it, the fish who nearly drowned in his search for water. Very dramatic.
Oh,
Um,
yes. So,
the tree of goodness, and at that point, it was like I had a passage of life where I was like, hey, what are these? What's my healership in the world? I've finished my trainings. I'm years into working with adult clients. But really, what am I here to do? What is my purpose?
mm,
And it has always frustrated me. I feel a bit maddened by the fact that the system seems to be we wake up full of innocence and essence, which then gets shaped in ways that are not to our highest good, that we then
mm,
need to unlearn so that we can get
mhm.
shaped again in ways that are hopefully closer to our highest good. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a divine plan, but sometimes I'm like, couldn't we just have had a straight run at this thing being easy
That
from
would be
start to
too
finish?
easy.
I
That's not what life's about.
know. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, a lot of times our greatest pain turns into our greatest gift. I know that is said a lot, but I really believe that. I think it's so true. And I think it's beautiful that you've been able to transmute all of your life into this beautiful gift for children and for our future. You mentioned speaking at schools.
Hmm.
How does that work? So you live in South Africa, is that correct?
No,
And
I'm actually recently moved to Scotland.
okay.
I'm in a spiritual eco village called Findhorn up in the north of Scotland. And it's just a place where I have good ground for my work and my writing. But I try to set up tours, and what can happen is one school will become an anchor. My favorite is to be author in residence at a school for a full week, rather
Okay.
than rather than just being the talent who comes in for a 30-minute assembly. Now, obviously, I can't fly in for a 30-minute assembly, but once I've got an anchor school that says, "Hey, you come to our area and do this," um, then we can go looking at schools around, and then there's also a way that quite often we find it's the private schools that have the funding that can afford, the experience,
Yeah.
then opens the door that we can also go and do library readings and things in community at the same time. And one of the you were talking about this world of imagination. So we've got
Mhm.
a little write your own kids
Ooh.
book, right? Which is really just the
Oh, that's
hero's
amazing.
journey. It's like page one, meet your hero. What are they doing? Page two, where are they going? Page three, get them into trouble. Page four, get them out of trouble.
Oh,
Page five, happily ever after. Now and then you can fill in the bit about the author and about the back of the
yeah.
story, and so it's really um, I use this for adults who are learning to or want to write their own kids book. I'm like, yeah, start with this little
Cool.
booklet and write it out there. So that needs a little bit more classroom time. That's one of the
Hmm.
things, and then we can work also into the older age groups. Um, Third, fourth, fifths can have great fun with that. So it's amazing getting to the end of a week and then doing a little parent gathering and putting all the books out and everybody's seeing,
Yeah.
wow, the whole and kids again we come to that identity piece. There's something that I didn't know I would be doing, but I am doing is kids coming away inspired, going, I want to be an author.
Yes.
Which is, that's kind of sweet. It's like the same way. I want to have silence. Andrew showed me silence. I want to be an author. I want to and this is really what we're doing we're actually passing to our kids inspiration to shape how they show up. And if you could pass them the inspiration of anxiety, you're anxious. I inspire
Hmm.
you to be anxious.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're relaxed. Oh, I inspire you to be relaxed just by being relaxed. And so we come back to this adult first space where it's like truly they're just watching and copying us. That's all
Yeah.
they're really doing.
Aren't they?
And
Aren't they though?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then
That's that book that you were holding up, the one where the kids get to make their own. Is that something that you sell or do you use it when you
yes.
visit schools? Because that's
Yes,
really cool.
we use it both. So I sell it, and we've actually gone further and made an entire digital course that maps this.
Oh, cool.
So it's about an hour of video time, but it could take you the whole summer to
Yeah.
make your books. So it's a
Cool.
nice activity.
I love that. Yeah, that's amazing. So, how can people find you, Andrew? I'm going to put all of your links down below. What's the best way if somebody wants to get in touch with you, either to come to a school or to get your books or any of these types of
Yeah,
things?
consciousstories.com is where it all centers. There's a If you can't find the details, there's a contact form. Just hit us up and ask. For me and parent coaching, for creativity stuff, for books, um, absolutely, all of it's there. Yeah, I mean, we'd love to get your family started with their first set of books, and we have a coupon code called podcast, which will give you a discount straight away. So thanks for listening to us. You can jump right in and use the code podcast at checkout for your discount.
Perfect. Is it case sensitive? Does it matter? Just
No,
type in podcast. Okay.
just yeah.
Awesome. All right, you guys got to go buy his books. These are amazing. Andrew, we're coming to our time here. I want to thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything else that you want to talk on real quick or share or services
Mm.
or things that we didn't get to touch on today?
Stacey, the one thing I would love parents to know about themselves is that, particularly if you're sitting here at the end of this podcast and you've been listening for an hour, you're a great parent.
Mm,
Like, truly, you're a great parent. Are you in the business of getting better? Sure. And that's what makes you a great parent, is that you're in the business of getting better, that says you're attuning to your family and the environment, and you're listening and you're willing to evolve and you're willing to grow. Um, and and if you can take a breath and have that sigh that goes, "Oh, this is actually going okay," you know, you know, because 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 the relief of that is good medicine for you and the home.
I love that. Yeah, we can be hard on ourselves. I think, that's such a beautiful reminder. Andrew, I know I am too.
Both hands up. Yep.
It's so tough. But no, thank you. What a beautiful message. Well, Andrew, I want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing your time with us today.
Stacey, thank you for all you do just in the podcast space, but more so, I'm so excited knowing that you're going to go back and this little pebble thrown in the pond here, it's just going to ripple into your class not only this year but then next year, and it's like,
Mm.
wow, the lives that you touch as a dedicated teacher is really very special. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right, guys. Well, that's all we have for today. If you enjoyed this episode, I hope you use it to inspire those around you. And I will see you next week on In a Spiritual Sense Kids. For those looking to connect further, please feel free to send emails to info@inaspiritualsense.com or hit me up on Instagram, where you can find weekly inspiration and updates. I look forward to connecting with you.
This show is part of the Mindful Podcast Network.